Okay, so let's dive straight into it. We were all set for Delhi Capitals against Sunrisers Hyderabad, Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium, Monday, May 5th.
Yeah, that was match 55, I think. And definitely a lot riding on it for both sides. You could sort of feel it building up.
Totally. SRH, I mean, their playoff hopes were hanging by a thread, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. They were in that precarious spot, needed a win badly.
Hmm.
And Delhi, well, they were looking to really solidify their place, push for those top spots.
Right, so high stakes. But unfortunately, the big headline up front is, well, it didn't happen.
Nope, abandoned. Heavy rain. Not a single ball bowled in the SRH innings. Such a letdown after the first half.
Yeah, let's get into that first half, though, because
Yeah,
there was cricket played, SRH won the toss, decided to bowl.
good decision as it turned out. And their captain, Pat Cummins.
Wow, just came out absolutely firing, didn't he? That first over was something else.
Sensational is the word, really. Karun Nair, first ball of the match, gone.
You can't ask for a better start than that if you're the bowling side.
Nope. And Cummins wasn't finished. He just kept coming. Got Faf du Plessis soon after.
And Abhishek Porel, too, right? All within the power play.
Yeah, Perel won and Cummins next over, I think. So suddenly DC are, what, 26 for 4? Inside 6 overs, just reeling.
Properly struggling. It felt like SRH just had complete control early on.
They did. And it wasn't just Cummins. Jaydev Unadkat bowled well, too.
He got KL Rahul, didn't he? Another big wicket.
Yep. And then Axar Patel tried to counterattack, maybe, but Cummins took the cash. So at the halfway mark, 10 overs gone.
It was 47 for 5. Seriously, deep trouble for Delhi. You're thinking, are they even going to get past 100 here?
You really are. It looked like a potential collapse, but you've got to give credit to the lower order.
Ashutosh Sharma and Tristan Stubbs.
Exactly. They put up a fight, a really important partnership, actually.
How much did they add? About 60-odd runs.
Yeah, 66 runs for the 7th wicket. Crucial runs. Ashutosh was the more aggressive one, 41 off just 28 balls.
That's a good knock under pressure.
Definitely. And Stubbs, well, he anchored it. He played maybe a slightly different role than we sometimes see from him. Finished 41, not out off 36.
So that partnership basically dragged DC up to something respectable.
Yeah, 133 for 7 in their 20 overs. I mean, maybe not a match-winning score on its own, but something to bowl at. Gave them a chance.
And Cummins' figures were just outstanding.
Phenomenal. 3 for 19 in his 4 overs. Just shows his class.
And Unadkat was tidy, too.
Very. 1 for 13 off his 4. Kept the pressure on. It was a really disciplined effort from SRH with the ball.
Interesting point about Stubbs, though. You mentioned he played maybe a different role.
Yeah.
Because we know how destructive he can be at the death.
Exactly. Since 2024, his record in over 16 to 20 is incredible. He scores heaps of runs, strike rate over 240 or something crazy like that.
Right.
But here, he couldn't quite launch in the same way. Still got 41, which was vital, but not that usual final flourish.
Maybe testament to how SRH bowled right through.
Yeah.
Or the pitch conditions.
Could be a bit of both. Cummins using his variations, Unadkat keeping it tight. Maybe Stubbs just couldn't quite, line him up like he usually does.
And speaking of the pitch, Unadkat actually said something interesting afterwards, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. What was that?
He felt the pitch got better to bat on as the DC innings went on. Said it was a bit sticky at the start, but then sort of flattened out.
Ah, okay. So he was feeling pretty confident about the chase then.
Yeah, he sounded quite optimistic that 134 was definitely gettable, especially if the pitch was improving.
Right. Which just makes the rain even more frustrating for them, I guess.
Exactly. Because pretty much as soon as the innings finished, during the break, the heavens opened.
And not just a light shower. It came down hard, didn't it?
Properly heavy rain. So then we got into that familiar, slightly depressing routine.
The waiting game. Covers on, covers off. Umpires walking out, looking concerned.
Super soppers buzzing around, trying their best. Lots of updates. Inspection at 9:30, inspection delayed, rain's back.
Yeah, you sort of cling to hope, don't you? Thinking maybe we'll get a shortened game, 5 overs aside or something.
There was a cutoff time mentioned, wasn't there? Something like 11:42 p.m. for a 5-over shootout.
That's right. But even though the rain did ease up a bit eventually, the damage was done. Just too much water on the outfield.
Yeah, the umpires kept inspecting, but you could see it was just saturated, puddles everywhere.
So eventually they had to make the call. Around 11:10 p.m., I think it was, game abandoned.
Such an anticlimax, especially after Cummins' bowling performance and that little fight back from DC.
Yep. So no result, which means points shared, 1 point each.
And the implications of that single point were massive. Let's start with SRH.
Well, for Sunrisers, that was it. Playoff hopes officially over. That 1 point took them to 7 points from 11 games, but they stayed down in 8th. And that net run rate, minus 1.192, was never going to help them.
Ouch. Yeah, a really tough way for their campaign to effectively end, after bowling so well, too.
You feel for their fans, but for Delhi Capitals, that point was like gold.
Absolutely crucial. It pushed them up the table, didn't it?
Yeah, up to 5th position. They moved to 13 points from their 11 games. Net run rate still positive, plus .362. Keeps them right in the thick of the playoff hunt.
13 points. That's an interesting number, too. They joined Punjab Kings in that sort of odd number of points category at that time.
Yeah, it just highlights how incredibly tight things were and still are in that middle part of the table. Every single point counts.
We heard from Daniel Vittori, the SRH coach, afterwards, too. Sounded pretty disappointed, obviously.
Understandably, he admitted it had been a disappointing season overall, praised the bowling in this match, of course, but pointed to inconsistency across the board.
Did he mention anything specific?
He talked about consistency, batting, bowling, fielding, just not being there often enough. And interestingly, he mentioned struggling to assess the conditions in Hyderabad this year compared to last season.
Oh, so.
Well, remember last year Hyderabad saw some really high-scoring games? He felt it was harder to judge the pitches this time around. Maybe that contributed to some of their batting struggles.
Could be. Pitches can change year to year. He did single out Cummins for praise, though.
Oh, definitely. Praised his leadership, his ability to take wickets, not just up front, but, throughout the innings. You can't argue with that performance.
So looking ahead then, SRH, sadly, are playing for pride now. They've got KKR at home next on May 10th.
Yeah, they'll want to finish strongly for the home fans. But for Delhi, the stakes are sky high. They travel to Dharamshala next.
To play Punjab Kings on May 8th. Wow.
Yeah, given they're both sitting there on 13 points after this result, that DC versus PBKS match becomes absolutely massive.
Like a mini knockout game almost. The winner takes a huge step towards the playoffs.
Pretty much. The whole playoff picture is fascinating right now. You've got RCB leading, but PBKS and MI right there.
Gujarat Titans lurking, too, with games in hand, which is always dangerous.
Yep. And KKR, LSG, they're still in the mix. It's incredibly congested.
And sadly, we know Rajasthan Royals and Chennai Super Kings are officially out now, partly due to results like this washout.
Yeah, the math just doesn't work for them anymore. It's brutal.
You mentioned the fan reaction earlier. The SRH fans must have been gutted.
Oh, absolutely. You saw it online, places like Reddit, a lot of frustration, a feeling that, DC got away with one.
Yeah, the argument being that 133 wasn't a huge total, and SRH fancied their chances before the rain came. A sense of being bailed out.
Exactly. And loads of talk, like we just said, about that DC versus PBKS game now being essentially a virtual qualifier. The pressure on that one just went up tenfold.
It really sets up a dramatic final week or so of the league stage, doesn't it?
For sure. Every match seems to have huge implications now for somebody.
So let's try and wrap this up. A match that promised a lot, especially for SRH's survival hopes.
Ended up being decided by the weather. A washout in Hyderabad.
Sunrisers Hyderabad are eliminated from playoff contention as a result.
And Delhi Capitals grab a potentially season-saving point, moving them firmly into the playoff battle.
It really is just another reminder, isn't it? The IPL throws up these turf balls, weather, unexpected results. You can't predict it.
Absolutely. And that point, just 1 point from an abandoned match, could genuinely be the difference for DC. It brings net run rate into play even more sharply if teams finish level.
Every run scored or saved earlier in the tournament suddenly feels magnified now.
It does, and it leaves you with that big what if, doesn't it?
What if the rain had stayed away?
Yeah. Would SRH have chased down 134? The pitch was apparently getting better, their bowlers were brilliant, but DC had something to defend.
We'll never know. A frustrating night, especially for Hyderabad, but a result that keeps the playoff race incredibly exciting.
Definitely. That DC point adds another layer of intrigue heading into these final crucial games.
It certainly does. Well, thanks for diving into that soggy outcome with us. We'll be watching closely to see how it all shakes out.